Welcome to Exposing the Truth in the Digital Evidence, the deep dive that helps you, well, cut through the noise and get right to what's important. Imagine you're at a critical investigation, right? Every scrap of evidence counts, and a lot of it's hiding out there in the digital world. So today, we're doing a really crucial deep dive. This is especially for all you aspiring digital forensics pros out there. Maybe you're in management information systems or information technology. Definitely computer information systems programs focusing on computer forensics.
Yeah, our mission today is basically to arm you with the core concepts you absolutely need for investigating digital communications. These things are foundation, but they're also, constantly evolving. We're going to shed some light on how professionals actually trace, recover, and analyze information from emails, from social media. Think of this as like an essential guide for you as you get deeper into this field. It's super dynamic.
Totally. And our insights today, they come straight from the source. Chapter 11, Email and Social Media Investigations. It's from that essential textbook, Guide to Computer Forensics and Investigations, 6th edition, by Nelson and Steuart. So look, if you find this helpful for your studies, or maybe you just find this whole digital detective stuff fascinating, please do remember to like, subscribe, follow, share it, maybe leave a comment with your thoughts.
Okay, ready to start uncovering some digital truths.
Let's do it. So when you talk digital investigations, email, it just jumps right out. It's everywhere. It's not just a communication tool. It's fundamental. Almost everyone uses it daily. And there are tons of different programs for sending, receiving, managing messages. And that ubiquity, that's both a huge opportunity and a real challenge for investigators, right? Because these programs, they store data differently. Some put it in local directories, others, like webmail, tie right into your browser. So forensically speaking, being able to trace, recover, and analyze email messages, I mean, whether you're using specialized forensic tools or just general disk editors, that skill is absolutely foundational.
Exactly. And what's become really critical, especially now, is understanding how email is used for scams and fraud. You have to be able to examine, to interpret the content, the metadata, because frankly, the amount of phishing, pharming, spoofing attempts, it's just exploded.
Phishing, yeah, that's the one most people recognize, I think. Those emails that look legit, links taking you somewhere sketchy, trying to get your personal info, like the old 419 scams, the Nigerian prince emails, that sort of thing, trying to trick you into giving up data.
Precisely. And then you've got pharming. Now that's sneakier because it can happen without you even clicking a bad link. Basically, you type in the correct web address, but DNS poisoning, like someone messing with the internet's address book, sends you to a fake site instead.
Wow.
Yeah, and a key forensic step there is actually looking at the email's HTML source code. You might find redirects hidden in there. It's finding the hidden trapdoor, basically.
Okay, and spoofing, that's just faking the from address, making it look like it came from someone else.
Pretty much. Altering the header info to hide the real origin, super common in fraud.
Good.
But often there's a tell. The ESMTP number, enhanced or extended simple mail transfer protocol, that number in the header. It should be unique for every single message coming from a particular server.
Oh, okay.
So if that number looks off, or maybe it's just not there, that's a big indicator that something fishy is going on. Deception, basically.
Got it. So once you've kind of dissected the email itself, the next step is zooming out, looking at the whole email system, the architecture.
Exactly. You need to understand that basic client-server model. It's fundamental. You have a central server handling the email services, and then client computers, running email programs like Outlook, they contact that server.
Right. So like Microsoft Exchange server would be the big central mailroom, and my Outlook program is my personal inbox connecting to it.
Perfect analogy. And your access, what you can see and do, it's all based on permissions. The email server admin sets those up. That structure is crucial because it determines what logs or data an investigator might even be allowed to access on that server side.
And what about the email addresses themselves? You see formal ones like jane.smith@somecompany.com and then, ittybitty@gmail.com. Does that matter much?
It can, yeah. For investigators, tracking email within a company on an intranet is often simpler. Why? Because those corporate accounts usually follow standard naming rules set by the admin. Makes identifying people faster. But here's where it gets really tricky these days. Cloud computing. When email data is sitting on servers owned by Google or Microsoft, maybe spread across different countries, jurisdiction and getting legal access becomes way more complicated. It adds a whole layer of complexity.
That definitely sounds like a challenge, especially the multi-jurisdictional part. Okay, so understanding the setup is key. What are the main goals then when you're brought in for an email investigation? Like for a crime or maybe just a company policy violation?
Well, the primary goals are usually pretty clear-cut. 1, find who did it. 2, collect the evidence carefully. 3, present your findings clearly. And 4, ultimately, build a solid case that will hold up. But, and this is a big but, what actually counts as a crime or a violation? That totally depends on the city, state, country involved. Investigators absolutely must know the privacy laws for that specific place. Things like the ECPA, the Electronic Communications Privacy Act, or the SCA, the Stored Communications Act. They heavily shape what you can and can't do with email evidence.
It's amazing how specific the laws get with digital stuff. And emails pop up in so many different kinds of cases, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, it's a huge range. Narcotics trafficking, extortion, sexual harassment, stalking, fraud, even things like child abduction, terrorism, child pornography. In all those areas, the digital trail in emails can be absolutely vital.
And that leads us to something really specialized, forensic linguistics. Tell us about that.
Right, forensic linguistics. It's this fascinating field where language meets the law. You have professionals trained to analyze language. They might analyze voice recordings to identify a speaker, or more relevant here, they analyze written text, like emails, to help determine who likely wrote it.
So it's like finding someone's unique writing style, their verbal tics, but in written form. Almost like a linguistic fingerprint.
Kind of, yeah. It's about patterns, word choices, grammar habits. The field breaks down into a few areas. Language and law itself, language in the legal process, language as evidence, which is key for us, and then research and teaching. And it's used broadly, civil cases, criminal, cyber terrorism, you name it. It's a powerful way to support or challenge claims about who wrote something, especially if other evidence is, a bit murky.
Okay, fascinating stuff. We've covered the what and why. Let's get practical. How do investigators actually get the email evidence? What are the methods?
Ideally, you'd start with the victim's computer, assuming that's where relevant evidence might be.
Makes sense.
If you can't get direct access, maybe you guide the victim over the phone to help them pull the right info. And crucially, you need the skills to recover deleted emails, maybe from a suspect's machine. We could illustrate this with pretty much any common client, like Outlook, for example.
And this is where email headers come in, right? That stuff most users ignore, looks like code.
Exactly. Headers are gold mines for investigators. Total gold mines. Most clients, whether they're GUI like Outlook or web-based like Gmail or Yahoo, have a way to view the full headers. And inside, so much useful info. The return path, who it was sent to, what kind of email service sent it, the IP address of the sending server, that's huge, the server names, a unique message number, date and timestamps, even info about attachments. Every piece can be a breadcrumb.
And thankfully, we have tools for this. Forensic software like AccessData FTK, for instance, can scan drives and images to find specific files, or even just unique bits of header info, like those ID numbers. Makes it much faster.
Beyond the message itself, what other email-related files should investigators be looking for?
Well, emails aren't always just in the inbox. They might be saved locally by the user, or maybe they're still sitting on the server. Client software often has specific storage files, like Microsoft Outlook uses .pst and .ost files. If it's webmail, the messages might be saved as web pages in the browser's cache. That's another place to dig.
Ooh, good tip. And you mentioned address books earlier.
Yes. Don't overlook personal address books. They can be incredibly valuable. Contacts, relationships, patterns of communication. It all helps build a picture.
So you've got these pieces, the headers, maybe some files. How do you actually trace it back to the sender? You really lean on that header information, especially the originating IP address. You can use online resources, sites like ARNN, Internic, even just Google searches to track that IP back to the ISP or organization it belongs to. That gives you a starting point, a contact point for the domain.
Well, you can't just assume that info is correct, right? There's a verification step.
Absolutely critical. You must verify what you find against network logs from the IST or the organization's network admins. Why? Because suspects can fake headers, route emails through hacked servers, all sorts of tricks to cover their tracks. You need that corroboration from the logs.
Makes total sense. Okay, so verification leads us to the server side. We're talking email logs, server systems now. What's the main goal for an investigator looking at these big, complex servers?
Your goal isn't necessarily to become an expert on, say, how Exchange Server works internally down to the last detail. It's more about knowing how to get the information you need for your case from that server, whatever type it is. Servers generally store messages either in a database system or using simpler flat files.
And logs. You mentioned logs are critical. Are they always turned on?
Not always. Sometimes they're on by default. Sometimes an admin has to enable them. And here's a crucial distinction for forensics. Logs can run in continuous mode, saving everything, or circular mode.
Circular logging. That saves space, right? But it overwrites old data.
Exactly. Saves disk space, which admins like, but it's a nightmare for forensics because older data gets overwritten and it's just gone. Unrecoverable. If you suspect relevant data is in logs that use circular logging, time is absolutely of the essence. These logs capture things like the sending IP, when messages were received or read, sometimes even content snippets, system info, whatever the admin configured it to track.
So rule number 1, as soon as you identify the source network, contact their network or email admin immediately, like right away. Preserve those logs. And recovering deleted emails from a server, is that like undeleting files on a hard drive?
Conceptually, yes, but often more complex because servers often use database structures. It's not always straightforward file carving.
Okay, let's talk specifics. What about UNIX-based email servers? What logs matter there?
For UNIX or Linux systems, you might look at config files like execmailsendmail.cf or execpostfixmaster.cf. But forensically, the gold is often in logs specified in sesslog.com, and especially files like varlog maillog. That maillog file, it's basically the diary of SMTP communications, server talking to server, super valuable.
Quick note for you students listening. Remember, UNIX Linux uses /A's, not backslashes like Windows. And while varlog is common for logs, they can be moved. So you might need commands like find or locate to hunt them down. What about the big one in corporate settings, Microsoft Exchange?
Right, Exchange Server. It's built on something called the Extensible Storage Engine, ESE. It's a database system. Key files for investigators are often the .adb database files themselves, plus associated files like checkpoint files and temporary files that track transactions. Exchange also generates lots of different log types: transaction logs, communication logs, tracking logs for messages, diagnostic logs. And you can often use the Windows Event Viewer to dig into specific email-related events logged by Exchange.
Okay, that is a lot of potential data points, complex systems.
Yeah.
How do investigators realistically sift through all this? Tools must be essential.
Oh, absolutely indispensable. There's a whole range of specialized email forensics tools out there. You've got things like Data Newman for Outlook repair, Fenella Mail, Mail Examiner, Paraben's Email Examiner, AccessData FTK, Magnet AXIOM. The list goes on.
And the big plus with these tools is they simplify things massively, right?
Yeah.
They can often find the relevant database files, the .psts, the logs, without you needing to be an expert on how that specific email server works.
Exactly. They automate a lot of the discovery and initial analysis, but then comes the critical part, comparing what the tools find. You take the logs, you take the messages, and you meticulously cross-reference. Does the account match? The message ID, the IP address, the timestamps. You need that solid correlation to even think about getting a warrant.
And documentation. I can't stress this enough for anyone going to this field. Document every single thing you do. What tool did you use? What were the exact steps? How did you image the data? That chain of custody, that verifiable process, everything in court. What about getting back deleted or maybe damaged email files? Any advanced tricks?
Well, tools like Magnet AXIOM are really pushing the envelope, designed to pull evidence from computers, phones, cloud sources all together. For actually carving emails that's reconstructing them from raw disk data when the file system pointers are gone, there aren't as many tools, especially for non-Microsoft systems. Some systems use the inbox format, which is just plain text, making carving a bit easier. Others, like outlooks.pst or .os, use the MIME format internally, which is more complex.
And specifically for Outlook files, since they're so common.
Yeah, the big forensic suites usually handle them well. AXIOM, OS Forensics, Xways, FTK, Ncase. And don't forget, Microsoft actually provides a tool, scanpsd.exe. It's designed to repair corrupted .ost and .pst files. Sometimes that alone can recover crucial data.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. The next big frontier, social media. Online social networks, OSNs, these are forensic gold mines now, aren't they?
Huge. Absolutely huge. Investigators use OSNs all the time to build profiles, not just on suspects, but maybe prospective clients, business partners. The amount of information is staggering. You can find evidence of cyberbullying, witness tampering, find a company's stance on something, IP theft, and critically, who posted what and when.
But the challenges there must be massive, too. Jurisdiction again.
Definitely. OSNs easily cross state lines, international borders, makes investigations way more complex legally. And here's a key point. You must get proper legal authorization, like a warrant or subpoena, to get private information directly from networks like Facebook or Twitter. You can't just go asking for it.
And everyone's on their phones now, so mobile forensics for social media must be a huge deal.
Massive and growing incredibly fast. Most social media access is mobile now. The tricky part is that the evidence artifacts, like the little bits of data left behind, they vary a lot depending on the app, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and the phone itself, iOS versus Android.
What are we typically finding on phones?
Well, the textbook mentions that forensic analysis generally shows iPhones and Android devices yield the most data. A lot of it gets stored in SQLite databases on the device. Like on iPhones, they found Facebook databases listing friends, IDs, phone numbers. On Android, sometimes Facebook friends get synced right into the main contacts list. Those links can be vital.
So, with all this complexity, this variety, what's the state of forensic tools specifically for social media?
It's evolving. Honestly, the software specifically for deep social media forensics is still developing. There aren't as many mature, widely accepted tools compared to email forensics, and there's still legal questions about how admissible evidence gathered by some of these newer tools might be in court. A lot of current tools are basically sophisticated web crawlers, which aren't always efficient for finding very specific pieces of hidden data. It's definitely an area where the tech and techniques are racing to keep up.
Wow. Okay, what a journey through the digital world of email and social media investigations. We've really unpacked a lot, haven't we? From email's core role to clients and servers, the kinds of crimes involved, the crucial tools and techniques, and even touching on this rapidly changing social media landscape.
Absolutely. And for you listening, especially those of you aiming to become computer forensics professionals, really internalizing these concepts, it's not just theory, it's the bedrock. It's essential for building that strong foundation you need in such a fast-moving field. Getting this right really sets you up.
So here's something to think about. As these communication platforms keep popping up and changing, seemingly overnight sometimes, what do you think is the single biggest challenge facing digital forensics investigators trying to keep pace? We would genuinely love to hear your thoughts on that in the comments section.
And really, thank you for joining us on Exposing the Truth in the Digital Evidence. If this deep dive was valuable for your studies or just sparked your interest, please do take a moment to like, subscribe, follow, maybe share it with a classmate, and definitely leave a comment. Your engagement really does help us keep digging and keep exposing the truth.